everyone. Life has been busy, but we wanted to share some ways that we keep life manageable. We are parents of 3 young children, ages 2, 5, and 6. So for us, routine is everything. If not, life will get a little too overwhelming. So we wanted to share some of the easy steps that we take to make sure that we are on top of everything and that nothing slips through the cracks.
So one of the things that we do is Sundays are like one of our best planning days to just get ready for the week ahead. Especially if, we want to keep our life manageable. We need like a day to just kind of figure everything out. And specifically, we make it non-negotiable to go to church on Sundays as a family. So before the pandemic started, I was working at church. You guys may have seen my video on just my story when it comes to church. But then the pandemic happened and we stopped going for obvious reasons. And then even whenever churches started to meet back in person, we just didn't go for a while.
Yeah.
And that was okay for us for quite some time, but a lot of things happened in our life. We were going through a lot of things when it comes to, some of the things that you were going through that you've shared with her.
Anxiety and depression.
Yep, mental health. And then also, I feel like it was very important that our kids get that foundation of faith. Mm-hmm. So there's a lot of people that might struggle with their faith or go through different seasons, but it's important to me and to Carlene that we at least give them that foundation to build upon. So it's been great, and there is a lot of benefit of just starting the day that way. We wake up early, we go to the first service, and then right after we can just kind of come home and enjoy the day. So sometimes that means getting the house cleaned up, getting laundry done, getting everything ready when it comes to maybe groceries too, if we need that. Mm-hmm. And then, what else do we do on Sundays?
Sundays, I just make sure all of the kids' school uniforms for the week are set up. I make sure that, they need snacks for school. So basically just setting up everything that we're going to need throughout the week. So laundry's done. All the sheets are clean. We're ready to go so that Monday morning, we're not worried about anything. We can just start our week on a positive note. So something that we've been doing since probably the beginning of our marriage, definitely since having kids, is we both have our own day to go out and do something alone. For example, my day is typically Tuesdays, and I will go meet with a friend, I'll have coffee, go to dinner, do something where it's just me. I don't have to worry about anyone else, and I am catching up with a friend. And then he has consistently played volleyball on Wednesdays for years. So sometimes our weeks will be even a little bit more. So maybe if a friend invites me somewhere on a Monday, I might go to that. And then, there have been times where on the weekend, like Saturday mornings, he'll play basketball with some friends. So it could be 1, it could be 2, but we definitely always keep that one day solid where I know on Wednesdays he's going to be doing something and he knows on Tuesdays I'm going to be doing something. And that really helps to have something to look forward to.
I think, one of the things that is important in a relationship, and I think it varies based on people, but having your own identity in some way, because I would like to say that we have a pretty good relationship. So we've been together for 12 years, and we're about to celebrate 9 years of marriage. And we know a lot of people that, we actually sometimes thought man, maybe they have a better relationship than us, and some of them haven't worked out. And then we also just know a lot of friends that got married around the same time and things just didn't work out.
Yeah.
I think a key to that is definitely having your own identity as a person and not getting wrapped up in, your spouse's or your partner's identity and trying to make everything perfect. I will say that for sure, we have become so much more accepting of one another. Mm-hmm. I think in the beginning, even when we're just dating, we're always trying to change each other to be more like what we wanted out of each other.
Yeah.
One of those things, again, is just having that free time to just do your own thing.
Yeah.
Having your space to just be your own person. I'm a very competitive person. I love to play sports. I love to do things that give me that drive, and I like to work out. And I don't really go out much on the weekends. I don't do a ton of guys nights or anything like that. I like hanging out with my friends, but I don't know. I'm kind of at an age
It's
where
more
I
like
just,
sports though.
yeah,
That's what you like
I'm
to
a
do.
sport. That's what fills me up. I really
I
like
like
that.
that about you. You go out for like a purpose. Like you're gonna play sports, you're gonna catch up with your friends. It's usually like some type of physical activity
Yeah.
versus just
And I look forward to when you get to go
I know
with your
because
friends.
because when I say I don't really feel like going anywhere today, you're like, you really should. I'm like, he wants me to go. He wants to get. No,
Yeah,
I'm
because
just
it's
kidding.
important. Because
No, I know
yeah.
because sometimes I don't realize that I need to get out the house until I'm already out the house, and I will tell him all week I'm looking forward to seeing someone, and then the day of he'll ask me how I feel. Like for example, today, this morning, I met up with someone. And I had been anticipating it all week. I'm like, I'm excited. I'm excited. I've never met with this person. We're going to have coffee. And then this morning, I'm like, I don't know. I kind of don't want to go. And then I went. It was an hour and I had a great time. So sometimes I do need that little nudge for me to go. And then, not for nothing, but whenever he goes to play volleyball, it's like, I know he's having a good time. And that is my night. The kids are asleep. Nobody's here. It's just me. I'm watching TV. I don't know. It feels nice. I love being with him, but I also am like, it's nice to just be, you know?
Yeah, we need our own identities aside from just being spouses and parents.
Parents,
Like
yeah.
we're still people.
For sure. So that actually brings me to the next topic. Not only do we have time for ourselves, but also having a hobby. I've learned in therapy that will help you, especially when you are a parent, to have something outside of being a parent. So I'm a stay-at-home mom. My identity quickly got wrapped up in just being a mom, just being a wife. And I, for years, have neglected myself. Obviously, I'm not neglecting myself because he's asking me to. I'm neglecting myself because I've put my kids' needs before my own. And then I'm kind of just like, this is my time to raise kids. Like when they're a little bit older, I'll do something. And my therapist was like, no, you are more than a wife. You're more than a mother. You know, we can go a little bit deeper, but like your identity and like who you are, who Christ says you are. And anyway, so we talked about all this stuff and he's like, you need a hobby. So all that to say, I didn't have a hobby and I couldn't think of one thing that I was good at, honestly. I wasn't big on sports growing up. I'm not competitive. I don't like being in crowds. I don't like to be around a lot of people.
So that
Like,
narrows down a lot of stuff.
I am truly very introverted and I do have some extrovert tendencies like when I'm around the right people, but typically I'm very low key. So I had to really think about what do I like to do? And I landed on inline skating. So when we first got married, or I think even when we were dating, we used to go skating a lot.
A lot.
We loved it. We had really good skates. We would go all the time. And then after having kids, I think we went once and it was just too much with the stroller. And yeah, so I ended up buying skates and I've been skating pretty often and it's been great. It's actually like the hobby that I look forward to. Even though I'd like to have a hobby more so with my hands, like I don't know, knitting. I would love to learn, but although I would like to do something like that, I mean, I find like my hobby is more so getting the house in order, but I need something
But
outside
that's
of
not
the
a hobby.
home.
So that's we talk about this a lot because I'm like, she's like, I love having a clean house. Like there's no greater feeling. And you know, we are minimalists and there's kind of like some of the habits are like keeping a really nice, tidy home. It's put together. It's really hard with 3 kids, but that's that. And I'm like, you can't just enjoy cleaning the house because that's kind of what also drains you.
Yeah.
And then you also kind of feel like, I don't really have like a moment. So that's why as good as it is to have like the hobbies of something productive in that way, it's just important that, you know, that we find hobbies aside from just maintaining our home because maintaining our home is not easy. It's exhausting sometimes. And getting outside is like, that's a benefit. And
so tell them what your hobby is now.
Okay. So I decided that I want to train for a half marathon. I thought because I've played sports my whole life and that I'm super competitive, I was like, this is going to be a cakewalk. This is going to be so easy. And I went out for my first run and I immediately regretted.
I remember your first run. That was so funny.
I was like, oh, I don't know. Like, I don't know if I could do this. I ran like maybe 2 miles, but I was dying at the end. And now I've improved a lot, but I do like it. I don't know. It's like sometimes we can be real closed-minded and get set in our like ways and our routines and think that, no, there's no way I do or try something new.
Yeah.
But sometimes it does help make life a little bit easier and funner and more exciting when you're open to trying new stuff. Like even skating for you wanted to get back into it.
Yeah.
But you just kind of had to be like, I'm going to go and skate. I'm going to buy skates and I'm just going to do it and I'll make it work somehow. And that's the thing. Like everyone can make things work if you can just make it work.
Yeah.
There's always a way. There's nothing stopping us besides ourselves most of the time. So yeah, hobbies are definitely a way that I feel like it makes life easier, more manageable, because you can't just be productive 24/7.
100%. Another way that we make our lives more manageable is we go to therapy. So I started going to therapy last year in October because I was really struggling with depression. And I actually made a video all about it. If you want to see it, it was the hardest video I ever had to make, but based on the comments, I would say it was a video that needed to be made. I still get comments on it and I'm like so humbled about it, but I have been in therapy since then. I was doing 2 times a week, then I went down to 1 time a week, then I went back to 2 times a week. And I swear by it. I think it's wonderful. I will add in there too, like therapy, going to church, and medication all helped me get back to being myself. Like I needed all 3 of those things. But therapy allows us to process things by ourselves, like with a therapist, and see a different perspective. Because sometimes I will sit down with a therapist and he will tell me something and I'm like, wow, that's so simple yet so profound. And after being in therapy for so long, I thought that he would benefit from it too. So I actually looked up a therapist for him and now he goes to therapy. Yeah. And he's someone who's always thought like, I don't need therapy, like I'm good, like I can process things on my own. And it wasn't until he started therapy that he's like, oh, like this is actually beneficial. And now you really like it, right? You look forward to your sessions?
Yeah. I mean, it's one of those things that as men, we internalize a lot of stuff. So I think that I've processed things, but a lot of times I internalize. And then we develop these habits, especially I would consider myself an ambitious person. Ambitious men have a hard time with just normal life because it's like if you're not chasing the next carrot, then you really don't know what to do with yourself.
I've never heard someone say chasing the next carrot.
Yeah, like
Is that
always.
A thing?
Yeah, like and I keep looking over there because
our son's outside. He's right.
Yeah. I'm always, we're always chasing something, and that's kind of been difficult for me. And it is not just chasing; we're chasing for a reason. Like there's something deeper inside that I'm trying to fill.
Yeah.
So I do think therapy has helped us. And the reason why I feel like we brought this up too is because a lot of times people say therapy, and immediately you think about couples therapy.
Yeah.
And we did that for actually, I believe,
did it for a while, yeah.
We did it for a while, and we did it at a time that our marriage was in a tough spot. Not in a spot that we were thinking about ending it. It was just we were going through a difficult time, and we just didn't know how to fix some of the issues. We had Mila.
Yeah, no, we had Bobby. We were taking him to our sessions with us.
So we had 2 kids at the time, and I'm sure a lot of people who are listening to this can relate. Like once you have kids and you add that to, the pressure just builds on. It's really hard to prioritize your relationship. But I will say, we learned some stuff in couples therapy, but I do think that the dynamic wasn't right for us to be doing it together because we're both like strong-willed when it comes to our relationship.
But I feel like for the most part, our issues were like ourselves, individual, and then we were coming together. We couldn't communicate well, and I mean, it all comes down to communication. So I feel like working on our own things separately and then coming together. And like, I love hearing what he learned. He hears what I learn, and then we kind of just like, I think that's been so much more beneficial. But we also did therapy when we were okay. Like everything was okay.
Yeah.
I just feel like even in a good season and then in like a tough season, and like, yeah. Anyway, not to discourage anyone from getting couples therapy because I think it's great. I think I would love to do it in addition to having our own individual therapy, but I'll never quit my therapist.
Yeah. Yeah.
I told my therapist the other day, I'm like, I saw a quote and it made me think of you. And he's like, oh yeah, what was it? I said, all of a sudden you're vibing with your therapist and then you realize one of you is paid to be there. And he started laughing. And I'm like, yeah.
Yep.
Sometimes I think we're like bonding, like me and my therapist, like we're like two peas in a pod. Like, besides Jesus, he's the person who knows me most in this world. Yeah. But you know, I do have to pay for him to be there, so it's not the same. Oh, anyway, he thought it was very funny.
That is funny.
Was pretty funny.
I think about that too.
I'm like, we're vibing. I'm like, man, like he's a cool dude.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I think therapy is great. That definitely makes things more manageable. I think we as parents have so much pressure on ourselves, and sometimes we don't even realize how in the trenches we are until we seek that outside counsel. All right, so those are things that we do individually to make our lives more manageable. So we have our alone time, we have our therapy, we have our hobbies, things like that. But now, how we make life more manageable when, you know, the kids are involved. First of all, non-negotiable, bedtime. Our kids have the most solid bedtime routine. They're in bed at 6 o'clock. And every time we say that, we get people like, how? What? You know, it works for us. That's how we do it. Our kids eat dinner at like 5 o'clock. And after they're done eating dinner, they get a bath. Then they get a bottle. And by bottle, I mean like a thermal flask. They drink milk. They love to have milk. Since they were born, they've had milk before bed. And they go to bed. We put a sound machine on and they go to sleep. And that's just how the routine has always been. And yeah, there are times where we'll be out a little bit later, kind of rare, you know, like if we miss the morning service because of something, you know, a couple times we've gone to the night service. So that kind of interferes with bedtime, but we're only thrown off by like 30 minutes. So pretty solid on that. Therefore, our kids have a solid morning routine. I wake up in the morning with the kids every single day. I get them ready for school. I give them milk. They like to have breakfast at school. I give them milk again for breakfast. And then they're completely ready. And then we wake up my husband, or he's already awake. This morning, I woke him up with his coffee made. And then he actually walks them to school. So we share that load. Mm-hmm. And then for nighttime routine, if you want to share, like while you do that, like.
So yeah, we usually put the kids down at 6, and you know, probably around 5:30, we're say like, all right, guys, let's start getting ready for bed.
Yeah.
And so you usually cook dinner, and if they haven't already eaten dinner, I'll start getting them ready for bed, get them a bath. They're pretty good about doing it on their own, but I still supervise. And then when they're done, get them changed. They either eat or they have already eaten. And sometimes they're like, let's play a lullaby. So they like listening to, lullaby on YouTube or something. Mm-hmm. And then I put them down. So I read a book to them. I try to spend some time with them. I try to cuddle each of them because they all love affection. And for me, I just think I want my kids to grow up knowing, oh, daddy always laid with me. Mm-hmm. Daddy always read to me because, I don't know, that's special. Yeah. And then I do that for my daughter as well. And she's really loving this. I know that she's really loving this time because every night I read to her and we're going through books. Mm-hmm. And one of the things that we've been doing is as soon as we finish one book, when we're done, now we're doing like a little daddy-daughter date. We'll go to Barnes & Noble. We'll get a new book. We get ice cream, and she's excited about the next thing.
You just finished one, and she's already asking, when is the next?
Yeah, like we just bought a book, and then she's like, how long it's going to take us?
How many pages?
It's going to take us 20 more days. And
yeah.
It's cute. So
it is.
That routine for them, and believe it or not, like sometimes I know parents feel like it's too tight or too strict, but like if you don't have routines, I feel like you will suffer. Yeah. So as much as I love that my kids are going to bed or whatever, and I want, sometimes I'd love to spend more time with them, I need time alone at night because, you work and it's a long day and, let's be honest, kids can be overstimulating at times and it can be a lot. So having that time to just kind of recharge and chill at the end of the night is important to Carlene and I.
Yeah. So while he's doing the nighttime routine, so he's giving them a bath and then getting them dressed. Actually, they take showers. Our kids don't even do baths. They like showers. No. But anyway, while he's doing that, I'm doing the nightly tidy. So something that I do every single night, which is part of our routine, is I clean the house. Well, nightly tidy specifically is like the dining room, the living room, and the kitchen. So while he's giving them a bath, I take that as my opportunity. I clean all the dishes. I clean everything basically. And then by the time I'm done doing that, the kids, he's like in the room reading them their story, and then I'll like go in there and say goodnight to them and everything. But so we share that load. So I wouldn't be able to, I mean, I would be able to, but it would be really hard and miserable. It would be hard for me to wake up with them in the morning, get them ready, and then have to get dressed and walk them. We live very close to the school. By the time I'm done getting them ready, I'm still in pajamas, and then he heads out the door. So that's great. If not, I'd have to rush to get myself ready to get there on time. And then at night, if I had to, or he had to do both, so if I had to cook, clean, put them to bed, I'd be exhausted. Like, it would be too much. So we share that load so that we both have our tasks, and then we meet in the middle. So that's definitely been working for us. It makes it feel like we're not like in it alone. And I hear a lot of people complaining about their spouses, or they don't do this, they don't do that. And I'm just like, why don't you sit down and like identify each person's role? Like, it does not feel good to kind of be in limbo. Like, can you do this, or are you going to do this? Who's doing bath time tonight? Who's doing this tonight? Like, I feel like sharing the load.
That's where we that's where we had a lot of
the
beginning
Mila,
beginning parenting was hard on us because there was no clear communication. Who was going to do what? And then it became like, you start to build resentment because you're like, well, you're expecting me to do everything, or one person's like, you're always expecting me to do this. So I've heard someone say before, I was like, I don't know, that seems a little too rigid, but it's better to have a conversation, or when you kind of find a routine that flows, say like, kind of stick with that. So like for a while it worked out where I was always putting them to bed, or it worked out where she was waking up and I was doing that other thing, and it changes. Like, our routines have changed over the course of years.
It's like you have to keep changing it until you find the one that's solid enough to stick with. And for us, I think this is the one right now. So it's good. I like our routine. I don't think it's bad at all. And then, you know, sometimes when he works late, I'll have the kids ready for work. Or even if he doesn't work late, sometimes I just like to surprise him and be like, I already did bath time and everything.
And the same way, like nightly tidies, when sometimes you leave.
If I leave.
I won't say anything. Because it's, you know, I don't want it to, you know, she come in, she's like, I see some dust still.
I don't do that.
No, I'm saying, like, if I say, hey, I'm going to clean everything up by the time you get home, and I'm like, God,
like if I go on a Tuesday to hang out with my friend, I'm not cleaning before I go. No. I'll typically just
as soon as I walk in, you try to go so you can meet your friend early.
Yeah, because sometimes, like, I have to meet with a friend, and by the time he gets home,
it's like 5:45.
Yeah, and then I'm supposed to meet in like 15 minutes, you know, because I don't like to be out too late. So anyway, and I'll think, oh, I'll just clean when I get back. But then when I come back, he has already cleaned. So, you know, that's great. You gotta share the load. There's nothing that's worse than there are people who put the entire load on one person, and that's tough. And we hear this a lot where like a female will say like, oh, my spouse doesn't help or whatever, and then they don't say anything to their spouse. They just build this resentment, and they get upset, and then by the time you know it, they're ignoring each other or they're fighting. And I'm just like, the same way you told me, you should tell your spouse, like, you know. so I think having clear roles makes life more manageable, especially with kids. And then obviously, so we've been sharing about minimalism and decluttering for 5 years now, right?
No,
6?
Yeah.
For a while. I'm like, we are some of the OGs from like social media who've been sharing this, and nothing has changed. We're still the same. And that helps with parenting because we don't have a unmanageable amount of things. Our kids don't have countless toys that they get like overwhelmed with, overstimulated. The same way we don't like a mess, kids don't like messes. The same way we don't like having too many things everywhere, they don't like having too many things everywhere. And I feel like we give them the space to be kids. Right now, the kids have toys. The kids have a playground outside. The kids have a bounce house that goes outside, also like a water thing. They have everything that they need. Do you want to know what they want to play with? They want to play with empty boxes and our chairs that spin. They don't care about all of the fancy things that people spend so much money on. And I think that helps make things manageable too. We're not spending a bunch of money. Like, we can go to Target and the kids not expect anything or ask us for something. We can take them places and they're not throwing tantrums why? Because we've set the norm, as in we don't just buy stuff to buy stuff. We don't buy clothes just because we like a certain shirt when we have a bunch of shirts at home. So that's like part of our routine is we are realistic. We are raising them in this minimalism or minimalist household, and it's normal practice. They don't feel deprived because they've never needed to.
And believe it or not, like we don't, I mean, our kids, I think they know the word minimalism, but we don't like say we are doing this because we're minimalist. They don't even really know that we're doing this for that. That's what I'm saying.
It's normal practice.
Yeah.
Like Mila, my daughter, my mom will occasionally get her like something cute. Like it could be a bow or a shirt. She does it for my sons too, or a pair of shoes. And Mila will be like, I want to declutter something to make room for this. Unprovoked. We didn't tell her to do it. She wants to donate stuff. She was like, I haven't played dress up in a long time. I want to give these dresses to my little cousin Izzy. And, you know, stuff like that. And we're not telling her she needs to do these things. We're not telling her, we're minimalist, so you can't have this, this, and that. She's just been around it for so long, you know? And I feel like people think, you know, kids get deprived, like when they hear the word minimalism. But really, it's like, no, they don't. Nothing's being taken away from them. We're teaching them to be like very appreciative. That's why if you see our daughter or our son, if they receive something, they're like, thank you so much. Like they understand the value of something.
They appreciate it.
Yeah.
And it helps with all the other stuff that we talked about, like our hobbies. If you don't have too much stuff for a hobby that you're trying to get into, you won't feel so overwhelmed sticking with it. Or even for me, like if I have too many things like clothes or options for work, what I'm gonna wear to work, like I like just keeping everything very simple, and that makes life easier overall. And you know, I think that minimalism has helped us a lot in every area of our life. And minimalism isn't the end all be all. It's not gonna fix every problem that you have, but I would argue that 90% of couples or husband and wife with kids or whatever, most of the problems are you're just overwhelmed.
Yeah.
Life is just a lot. You had kids in the mix. You feel like your whole world is like, man, every second I'm cleaning or picking up stuff and disciplining, and like I never have a moment. And that's why you see a lot of people or, you know, couples who came into marriage excited, came into marriage feeling really healthy, and then they just slowly go downhill. It's not anything against them, or they're just tired. You're just overwhelmed. You just don't really have good routines. And even me, when we bought the house, I went through a season of like I struggled with routine because I was just going through a stressful time, and it was hard for me to wake up early. It was hard for me to feel a drive to get things done, and then I got overwhelmed by stuff, and that's just normal. So the whole point of all this is like, what can you do to just make life a little bit easier in general?
Yeah, life isn't going to be easy by accident. Like you have to do these things with intention, on purpose, repetitive.
That's good.
Really?
Life is not going to be easy by accident.
Quotation
marks. Carlene.
So I would say, like, you know, we need to, we just want to encourage you because we've gone through a lot of different seasons. And one thing that I have really learned in therapy was when I fell into like a deep depression. It was really bad. And on top of that, I had like unmanaged postpartum depression. Sometimes you don't even realize that you have that. So all that to say, I got completely off of routines when I was really down. Like I didn't leave the house. I didn't keep up with the house. I didn't cook. I was like not in a good place to like take care of my kids. I was just crying all the time. It was all these things. And some of the simple things my therapist recommended for me to get back to myself was to get back on routine. Something as simple as he wanted me to be meeting with friends again. Even if I didn't feel like talking to anyone, being there. If I had to be there and cry the whole time, I was still sticking to my routine. He wanted me to socialize with people. He wanted me to go back to church. One of the reasons why I went back to church was because, first of all, I felt like I needed it. But also, if I felt bad one day, we weren't going. Because like he said, we didn't go for a long time, and now we consistently go. But in the time where we were kind of figuring out what church we want to go to, we would skip here and there. But my therapist was like, no, you don't skip. You go every week. Even if you don't talk to someone, you grab your coffee, you sit down, you listen to the word. So all those normal things. Cleaning routine. He told me, don't stress yourself out with making your house clean all the time, because I also, that's the OCD type of thing that I struggle with. But he's like, get back on a routine where your house is clean enough that you feel good. So all of these little routines that I had set in place and then kind of stopped were the very things that made me come back to life when I started following them again. So got back on a routine, got back right with everything that I needed to do. And I'm here today. I feel so much better, and I now feel like I'm back on my routines, but also added more routines. So yeah, I've been feeling solid with it. Been working out in the garage with my son. Right after this, I'm actually gonna go in there. I'm gonna finish painting. I'm feeling encouraged. Oh. You're like, wow, really? Oh, don't ask me for help. That's what you're thinking. Don't you try to fill my day with it. Well then, your face said it all. You see out here, guys. Do you think he's gonna help me paint? He started painting the door and he left it. And I would really like for him to paint it, because people walk by all the time and they look into my garage and they're probably like,
I have post-paint regret.
Can we please, you guys, we're going to make a video to show you before and after the garage, because the garage is bad right now.
It's not that bad.
I feel like it's really bad. We have different standards. One of the routines that we didn't share this, but we've been talking about it, is your present life, what's going on in your home is way more important than anything else. And we've just been in a season of busyness and just life. And anytime we're like focused, social media kind of takes back burner. Like, we love doing YouTube, but it's the first thing to give when we're busy. I've actually been working for my brother also, like just helping, picking up some shifts. He owns a burger spot. And anyway, I've been doing that. He's been running. He's been doing things that are great for his health. And then we've been missing YouTube. So we're like, okay, let's get back on YouTube. So we're going to make it a routine again. And yeah, so that's another one we can add to the list. So you guys will be seeing us again. But I want to make a video and show you guys like a before and after of the garage. But also, I've been telling him, let's do a minimalist home tour. Do you guys remember when we did one of those like 2 years ago when we lived in the apartment? That video, everyone loved it. Yeah, and it was like one of the worst videos we ever recorded. It was dark in the house. It was shaky. And it was just really cool because people like to see, okay, we talk about being minimalist, but we don't always open every drawer, show you every cabinet. And they love that. So I want to do it again. I think we're ready. Our house isn't done, obviously. Like, we can't buy so many things all at once. Like, we still need a TV stand, whatever. But you know what? We can show you what we have realistically. This is what we're working with. We're slowly adding things and just give you an idea of what's going on here. Little house update.
Yeah.
I think they'll like that.
They probably will.
Maybe next time.
Maybe next time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or now. The house is nice and clean. Anyway, go ahead, say bye.
Bye. We'll see you next time.
Bye.